What's up? Good morning, ladies, gentlemen. David here, and welcome back to another Atlus news video. At this point, there's no doubt in my mind that we're gonna see Persona 4 Remake unveiled at the Xbox Game Showcase next week, which I'll be streaming. Plus, I'll be streaming the Summer Games Fest showcase thingy as well, which Atlus isn't even featured on the set. Sega is though, so we'll see. But when it comes to Persona 4 Remake, we have even more information. We have even more reasons to believe that it's real. And at this point, I am 90% sure that we'll see it next week. And the last time that I said that was for RAIDOU Remastered, and I was right. So I think I might be onto something once again, but we'll have to keep our eyes opened to see the final reveal. So if you don't know, let me very quickly go over everything that we know so far about this Persona 4 Remake. And I've reported on every little bit of news. It started in February of this year, where the lead vocalist for Persona 4 in general, so the original Persona 4, Persona 4 Golden, Persona 4 the animation, Persona 4 Arena, and even Persona 4, Persona Q, the Persona Q games. She is the lead vocalist, and she basically sent some sort of post on Instagram saying that, hey, I am recording for an unannounced title, and it was in a studio where P Studio constantly records and compose some of their tracks in their studio in Japan, which led a lot of fans, myself included, speculating that, oh crap, they already started working on Persona 4 Remake. And we had no signs. That was the first sign that a Persona 4 Remake was real, which I was... After seeing the success of Persona 3 Reload, I immediately figured that, hey, we're going to see P4 Remake at some point, but I was not expecting to see P4 Remake a year after Reload, you know? Just due to the success of 3, I knew we would get a remake of 4, right? So February, that was a shock. And when I reported on that, I was like, oh man, it's gonna be a while before we learn more about this. Well, I was wrong, because 2 months later in April, Atlus updated, well, they didn't update, they registered a brand new website domain, a familiar website domain, because the year prior we got a website domain that was registered before the announcement of Persona 3 Reload, which was p3re.jp. Well, in April of this year, Atlus registered a website domain which was, you guessed it, p4re.jp. So at this point, I was like, well, apparently we're getting P4 Remake sooner than we thought, right? Well, that was not it, because earlier today, none other than the original voice actor for Yosuke in Persona 4 tweeted something or posted something on Blue Sky. Here's what he had to say. Quote, "And for those who keep asking, no, I will not be returning as Yosuke for the Persona 4 Remake. I asked, maybe I even begged, but they don't want me to come back." Which... the first thing that comes to mind is, well, he just leaked the remake himself. Now, I've seen some people say, oh, you know, it doesn't mean that there's a remake or anything. I mean, there's a very solid chance that the man knows that something is happening at Atlus and that he had the opportunity to pass an audition or some sort of test to see if he's eligible to enter, or maybe he was just contacted by one of his fellow colleagues who's involved with the project. He was involved with Persona 4 and some other Persona 4 games from Atlus, you know, so he is definitely someone who would hear whispers, you know, and after seeing all the rest of the news, maybe he felt comfortable, you know, sharing around that, yo, I know, everyone knows there's a Persona 4 remake, well, I'm not going to be involved with. That in and of itself isn't surprising. It's causing a lot of backlash. I know some of y'all reached out to me to talk about that. I appreciate, as always, if you send me leaks, rumors, or any type of info about news that I have yet to cover and you reach out to me, I always appreciate that. So shout outs to all my friends who did. But I certainly think that, you know, he might hear something, he might know something. The fact that he's not involved isn't a shock to me, though, because if you look at Persona 3 Reload, they marketed heavily that there is a brand new cast for the game. You know, they recasted everyone, including the protagonists and all of Cease and everything, for the remake of Persona 3 Reload. And you know what? most people like the new cast, and that would include myself. I thought the new cast was awesome. I like, my personal favorite would probably be Alia Clark with Mitsuru. I think she did a fantastic job. I don't remember her name, but the voice actor for Aegis did a very solid job as well. So in general, very satisfied with the new cast, and especially when you look at Persona 4, right? You have some very, very big and some very heavy voice actor names that were in the original Persona 4, and it would cost a lot of money to bring them back because of their names now, Troy Baker, Laura Bailey. Those two are like huge voice actors now, and they were in Persona 4 with lead roles, So to bring these back for these roles would have been very expensive, and a new cast makes sense. There is also controversy around certain voice actors, which it's probably for the best that, they're doing it, recasting the whole thing. And I am putting my trust in ATLUS and the P Studio because they chose, although I think that would be the folks at ATLUS West choosing that, right? The voice actors for the English dub. They did a fantastic job. They constantly do a great job, y'all. Think about it. Think about modern, recent ATLUS titles. Freaking, I'm looking at it right now. Metaphor. Metaphor has a fantastic cast of characters, like some of the best voice actings that I've heard in years. So ATLUS, they have great talent agencies for voices in English, so I'm not worried at all. All of that to say, at this point, the vocalist for P4 confirming that she's back for an unannounced title in February. The website domain in April was a confirmation to me, and now prominent voice actor from the original title saying that he's not involved in the remake. At this point, I know it's real. We all know it's real. A Persona 4 remake is happening, and when you look at when they could announce it, I am definitely thinking that it's going to be next week for the Xbox Game Showcase, which again, I'll be streaming the links to both Summer Games Fest, and that stream will be in the video description. So I would be very happy if you guys could join me for these streams, because they're going to be 2 long streams. I'm going to go early for both, and we're going to have a lot of fun, so I hope you guys are excited for that. But definitely during the Xbox show, I think we should expect the Persona 4 remake to show up, because man, oh man, that's going to be great. And ATLUS has been, doing business with Xbox for a while. They recently added Metaphor to Game Pass. So I do think that Xbox probably secured the marketing deal as well for P4 Remake, which is why they're going to reveal it there. On which platform is it going to release and when is it going to come out? That's also something that I wanted to start speculating on. I think Persona 4 Remake is probably the big game for ATLUS this year. So that would mean it's a October or November title for this year. That's what I'm thinking. I think it makes a lot of sense. ATLUS doesn't have anything else announced for the rest of the year other than freaking RAIDOU, which is coming out mid-June. Very excited for this one. It's going to be awesome. Again, I played it and it was a blast. So check out my preview if you haven't already. But that game is going to be very solid. Don't sleep on it. And then we have P5X releasing June 26th, which that game as well I'm very excited for. Different type of game, a game that I have not played, so I'm excited to see what the game has in store for us, But P4 Remake, I'll be there for sure, and I think it makes sense late this year, and I don't think ATLUS is going to have anything else for this year. That's my bet. I'm thinking P4 Remake, we might see more reveals, but in terms of a game release, I think that would be it. Platforms. I think the only question is it going to be on Nintendo, right? I fully expect it on every other platform. Xbox is going to reveal it, so Xbox is going to have it. PlayStation, they always get it. And at this point, for PC gamers, same thing. They always get it. So it's all about Nintendo. Is this game going to be on Nintendo? I don't know. In my opinion, there was no reason to not have Persona 3 Reload on Switch. It's not on Switch. Same thing for Metaphor. No reason not to put it on Switch. It's not. So at this point, is the remake for P4 going to be on Switch? Maybe, maybe not. P3 RE started development in 2019. Which might be why they skipped the Switch, which sounds weird because the Switch was already insanely popular and it was clear that it was going to be a huge hit in 2019 when they started developing Reload. I really don't know at this point. There's the Switch 2 as well, which if you want to bring up the specs and things of the platforms, which might be the reason why those titles are not on Switch, which I really don't think they are. I think both these titles could definitely run on Switch with obviously compromises, lower resolution, lower frame rate and everything, but I still think they should have gotten a Switch port and they probably would have ran just fine on Switch with, again, lower quality. Switch 2 would make that possible. A slow-ass RPG like Persona 4, even if it's remade in Unreal Engine, it definitely could run on the platform. So maybe it's just coming on Switch 2. We'll have to wait and see. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be a freaking game card, which I'm not a fan of if it releases on Switch 2. So we'll have to wait and see. But hey, I'm excited. I'm late on the news. I'm a day late. I'm aware. Sorry, I had a big day today and I was not able to cover that earlier. But I'm glad that we have this piece of news because, man, I'm willing to give Persona 4 another run, man. I think it's going to be called P4 Rerun. So yes, I am going to give it another run when it releases in October, November of this year. Thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate y'all. Bye.